everybody. It's the Atheism UK podcast, and Atheism UK always has cups of tea. Yeah, it's how we work, how we live.
I need to get some tea. Yes, I need to get some jammy Dodgers out of the cupboard, actually.
Oh, that sounds nice. And today we're going to be talking about the cosmological argument, and this is one of those things that is a sort of staple of apologetics. Doesn't really matter if it's Christian or whatever religion, but it's a sort of staple of apologetics, and it's an interesting conversation. But we want to go into it a little bit and just have a little bit of a chat about it. Does anybody want to start with this, or shall I just like ramble on for the next hour?
Well, let's sort of define our terms first. The general issue, the general argument, the cosmological argument, also known as the first cause argument, basically says because the universe must have a cause, then that cause has to be God. That's it in its rawest and most basic form. Obviously, there are some various variants of that. One of the most popular, which are used by people like William Lane Craig all the time, even though he has been soundly debunked on a number of occasions publicly, being the Kalam cosmological argument, which talks about things beginning to exist. That's the basic format, is that because the universe exists, so it must exist for a reason, and that reason has to be God.
Not only that, it has to be the Christian God.
Or the God of whatever person who is arguing for it. Because, again, Kalam actually came from Islam. It was...
Yes.
But it's always, and it has to be my God, even though, actually, no, it doesn't. It is a general... I mean, it's actually, at best, it's a deistic argument, not a theistic one.
Yes.
The great thing about it, Rich, is that scientists will just put their hands up and say, we don't really know just yet. Getting bigger and bigger telescopes and look further and further back into the history of the universe, the cosmos. But we don't know just yet. But, as you're saying, to relate that to God did it because we don't know, that's just a big cop-out.
Oh, yeah, a total cop-out. And
it's an argument from ignorance, and like a lot of things that we see with a lot of these apologetic arguments is they are completely fallacious in most cases. But I think the thing that's worrying is that you have to point out the fallacy to people who tell you this. You know, we have conversations quite a lot with theists about these sort of things, and they always trot these things out. I mean, these have been going for a long time. I mean, William Lane Craig's Kalam Cosmological Argument book was out in, was it 79? Something like that, 1979. So this has been going on.
Dines out on it.
Yeah, it's been going on for a long time, and it's in syllogistic form, which is obviously a way for people to frame an argument. But the thing is that it's the premises and the conclusions have so many flaws in them, and I mean the basic the basic cosmological argument is that everything that exists has a cause, and straight away you got to say, well, what do you mean by cause? What does that actually mean? Because again with a lot of these arguments, terms need to be defined within any argument. You need to define exactly what that term actually means and agree on that. Most people don't agree on these things at all. So, everything that exists has a cause. The universe exists,
except God, of course,
and therefore the universe has a cause.
I mean that's a great one to start with, isn't it? We haven't got time to go into that today, but to say God did it, all right. Tell me what God is.
Yeah, what did God?
Silence. God is everything. God is everywhere.
Yeah, because in the actual argument, in the cosmological argument, there isn't a conclusion, therefore God, but you always get that. You know, if it's got a cause, then what else could it be?
Yeah.
You know, and again, that's a fallacious statement. What else could it be? Well, it could be lots of things.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily. So what it is I guess it's an inductive argument, isn't it? It's not a deductive argument. It's an inductive argument which suggests that it could be something like this rather than proof of something.
Yeah.
Which
and you know, when somebody says, well, everything that exists must have a cause. Okay, what's the cause, and what caused that cause, and what caused that cause, and what caused that cause? But they say, oh, well, you can't have an infinite regress. Well, again, that's often an assertion that there isn't an infinite regress. And then they just say, and that cause has to be my God. Well, that's, again, just an assertion. So there's still no actual evidence that God actually exists at all. One of the problems I've always had and with the cosmological argument, and it's not one that I've actually seen addressed very often, even by those on our side, is that, okay, well, if God is the explanation for the existence of the universe, what evidence do you actually have that God exists in the first place to create a universe? Because otherwise it becomes circular. And I think the fact that it actually eventually regresses to that circular argument is often not addressed. You know, so you've explained how the universe got here. It was a God. Fantastic. So you can't use the existence of the universe to explain the existence of God if you're using God for an explanation of the existence of the universe.
I've usually found it quite pointless when arguing with, let's call them religious apologists. They do not see the complete absurdity of circular arguments like you just explained. You pointed out, but they don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. That's just, and it's so annoying.
Yeah. Originally, of course, the cosmological argument was stated the way you've been talking about it, guys. You know, everything that exists. That was, I think, as Aristotle came up with that.
Yeah, it goes all the way back to Aristotle and beyond, doesn't it?
But
it's pre-Christian, in fact.
And that was fine for hundreds of years until they realized that it needed a modification. And it was St. August who came up with the extra two words that begin to exist. Everything that begins to exist must have a cause. And this is
actually that is Kalam.
Yeah, that's the Kalam. Yeah, and it is this extra little bit, because this is what William Lane Craig was talking about. You know, because it goes back to the Islamic scholars, the theistic Islamic scholars, and they put in this extra little bit only because you could see the problem with the basic argument. So it was everything that begins to exist has a cause.
Yeah, and of course, God did not begin to exist, which is another assertion.
That's why they had to modify it.
Yeah, they modified it.
The obvious question was, who caused God? And they had to get rid of that problem. That's why they inserted the words "begins to."
Yeah, yeah.
But
and this is why I think it's so fascinating sometimes when all this stuff, all these apologetics is all about. It's like talking God into existence. You know, it's this philosophical meandering that you can work out all these different things, but then you put it in a syllogistic form, and for the uninitiated or the people who don't really sort of think about this, they don't sort of think, is this actually a sound argument? Is it a logically sound argument? Because it sounds on the face of it actually sounds quite logical. Anything that begins to exist must have a cause. Well, everybody knows that in the universe, because that's what happens in the universe.
Yes.
But God, apparently, is outside of the universe. He's not temporal.
Yes.
That's hand waving. I mean, and that's just hand waving.
It's hand waving, but this is how they stitch it together, because anything that exists has a cause, but God is outside of existence, which means that it can only be God that does it, because in their mind they have this presupposition that God exists.
But you know what that says to me? If something is outside existence, it means it doesn't exist.
Well, that's exactly what most of us think. I know.
You know,
what this is an ad hoc argument. They're making an additional condition that attempts to support their first claim with another claim. They're saying our God claim hasn't been demonstrated, so we're going to make up this place outside of the universe and use that as sort of support for our God claim, and that's known as an ad hoc fallacy.
Yeah.
But
and you've made it up. What, apart from the fact that you've made it up, again, what evidence do you have for that thing that you've just made up?
Exactly.
And there isn't any.
Yeah. Sorry, John. After you've gone.
Okay. The real point here is, and I'm speaking as an ex-science teacher, a retired science teacher, is that an argument in science, we would call it a hypothesis. We don't often use syllogisms, but we use reasoning based on what we do know to come up with a prediction. You know, if such and such a hypothesis is a guess, well, it's based on experience, based on evidence guess, so it's quite a good guess. If that's true, then this should be the case. So there's a second stage, which is investigating to see if the information we can get from outside of our heads, where thought happens, matches this hypothesis, or in the case of a theist, this argument. And they never do the second stage. They just take the argument and stop.
And as all good scientists like yourself, John, know, you're not actually testing the hypothesis, you're testing the null hypothesis. But let's even begin to explain that to religious apologists, because we'll be here for hours.
I mean, one thing that struck me was, you know, William Lane Craig, I think, is a very erudite speaker. He's not stupid. William Lane Craig. He's a very, very he's very, very good at understanding concepts and framing concepts and things like that. I mean, I think he's going down the wrong road, and he should have used his powers for good, let's say.
He's a lawyer. That's what he is. He could argue a good case.
He argues a good case because he's an incredibly intelligent human being. Yeah. I mean, he's not an idiot.
Yeah.
And
the
that's
problem is
what I sort of I worry about, is because people like William Lane Craig can stand up on stage and sound incredibly convincing. The thing is with William Lane Craig is when he put his argument in place, and he did a thing with was it Sean Carroll? I saw a video with him in a debate with Sean Carroll, who's a physicist, and I mean, Sean Carroll just wiped him away completely. It was cool.
Didn't he basically recite William Lane Craig's script in his opening argument before William Lane Craig?
I think it might have been that video. Yes, I remember seeing one video where he goes into it. But William Lane Craig does something. He's a tricky little beggar, William Lane Craig, because what he actually did he's actually created something. His cosmological argument is something slightly different. It's slightly differently worded, which gets you to the therefore God point more convincingly. And what it was is, if the universe began to exist, then there is a transcendent cause which brought the universe into existence. That's his first premise. So what he's done is he's slipped in there is a transcendent cause. In other words, if the universe existed, it had to come from something outside, something transcendent. And of course, the word transcendent straight away makes you think God is transcendent. Therefore, if there was a transcendent cause which brought the universe into existence, then straight away your mind goes to God. So his second premise was the universe began to exist just like the original, and so his conclusion is, therefore there is a transcendent cause which brought the universe into existence. Now, to me, that is incredibly clever, you know, just to sort of sit down one day and think, how can I swing this the best way? How can I make this sound even more convincing? How can I put that first premise in, which absolutely gets straight to the end conclusion, the conclusion that I want. So to put in something like then there was a transcendent cause changes the argument, obviously, but it also makes it much easier to slip if then there was a transcendent beginning.
Yeah, the problem with that,
you really have to take your hat off to him. That's what I say. He's a very, very clever guy. But in that debate with Sean Carroll absolutely destroyed him in that. And yay science.
Of course, there's another problem with the cosmological argument, because in other circumstances, the theists claim that their God is immaterial. And it's difficult to see how something immaterial can cause anything. I mean, don't ghosts walk through walls?
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of things in that are the dressings of what God actually is. That if you it's like a lot of things. If you just stand back and say, well, what do you actually mean by that? What do you actually mean by that?
Yeah, that dressing falls away. That dressing just falls away as soon as you start asking that question. Because again, for me, immaterial means not material. By material, I'm talking about mass energy.
Not made of matter,
or not made of matter. Yeah,
which is interconvertible with energy.
Yeah, and which is another word for, again, like outside of existence, means it doesn't exist.
Well, exactly.
It's not real.
How do you tell the immaterial from the imaginary?
But the religionists will still tell you that God is outside of human understanding, immaterial, but they'll still say, God speaks to me, tells me what to do.
Yeah.
They still pray to him.
God is outside of human understanding, but I understand some of it. But I understand some of his qualities.
Yes.
It's a contradiction. It's a nonsense.
The thing about people like Len Craig and the people who make a living out of this sort of stuff is all the other people who are religious and maybe take notice of them are only going by what they actually say. Nobody goes off and does their own sort of research like we do. We're always prepared. We don't say anything unless we have looked it up and backed it up with science. But a lot of religionists are just regurgitating stuff that their clergy have told them. Yeah. Most of them have never read things like the Bible at all. If they did, they'd be absolutely appalled. It's people like us who know what we're talking about, who can actually point all this stuff out in the Bible, all the bad stuff, and it's mostly bad.
On that subject, as you know, I do my free thought hour every week, and I've interviewed a number of ex-Christians, and some of them ex-pastors or ex-Jehovah Witnesses or ex-Mormons, different flavors of Christian, and they say that the claims they make, I'm losing the thread of what I was going to say, I think. Cut this bit out.
Well, Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons are not any flavour of Christianity.
No,
because they're both completely made up.
Yeah.
So you're saying Christianity is not completely made up?
Oh, you got me there. Sorry.
But there's also another issue about this whole argument, to be honest with you. How many religious people, how many Christians, how many Muslims or whatever are believers because of this argument?
Who knows?
They're believers before the argument. The argument
before them.
Yeah. A lot of these things, a lot of these apologetic arguments, I think what they are is they bolster their faith. They bolster it enables them to say, look, I believe in God. And this guy's just exactly what I think. They had never thought about this in their lives, but it just bolsters their faith. This stuff.
I've remembered my point. which
Go,
is
John.
which is that those people who have left the religion, many of them have left it because they did read the Bible.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that
more
for a fact. So I know ex-Christians that I've talked to in my time, you know, and when I chat with people and things like that, you know, I've met them, and in fact, there's one person which I had a conversation with who was a Christian, and this is quite a few years ago, and all I said was, "Have you actually read the Bible?" And he went, "Well, not all of it." I said, "Well, how much have you read?" I've read bits.
Bits, yeah.
Okay,
It's always
when you
bits.
say bits, what do you mean? Well, I've read a psalm or two when I'm being told to. Okay, go and read the. I said to him, go and read the Bible. I mean, just take some time to actually just go and read the Bible, just the Old Testament. Just start with that, and you can pick some things, but read the whole all the passages, the whole thing of one, you know, one thing
in context.
In context. Just read it all. Read Job. You know, go and read Job and tell me what you think. And you know, I met him sort of like 6 or 8 weeks later, and I said, "Did you read that?" So I read that Job passage. He goes, "It's bloody awful, isn't it?"
Yeah.
Now he's an ex-Christian because he carried on doing it. He carried on reading the Bible, and we've had loads and loads of conversations about this over the years. And I think that's the thing. If you really have any doubts, go and read the Bible, and you'll be out in a shot. Seriously,
it's a great atheist recruiting tool.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, we should actually give it away at our meeting, shouldn't we?
Yeah, but most
read of that.
people I'll start with Genesis in the beginning, etc., and then they stop when they get to Genesis 38:9 because that's about masturbation. So, oh dear me, better not go any further than that. So, I'm sinning already.
Yeah. Well, the fact that Genesis chapter 1 directly contradicts Genesis chapter 2.
Oh,
I mean, it's off to a rocky start to start with.
We've got to start an atheist quiz team. I mean, stuff that we know.
Oh God, yeah. I remember there was a fantastic. I don't know if you've read Greta Christina's book, "Why Are You Atheists So Angry?" Where she starts off with 101 reasons why atheists are so angry, and one of them, I can't remember exactly which number it is because there's 101 of them, is I'm angry because I have to know more about their damn religion than they do.
Yes.
Which isn't hard, actually.
No, it isn't. But you know, coming back to this argument, as we said before, you know, these believers aren't believers because of this argument, and I don't think this argument actually convinces anybody to become religious. It might attempt to reinforce somebody that already believes, but it's certainly not persuasive to people like us who sort of understand, who sort of at least sort of understand logic. You know, I'm no logician or anything like that, but you know, but as soon as you know the basics of logic and what logical fallacies are, these arguments just fall apart. And as I say, you know, the Sean Carroll debate being a great example. It just shows William Lane Craig up for he's a regurgitation machine. He doesn't actually have any original thoughts. He can't think on his feet. He has a script and he sticks to it, because not only did Sean Carroll quote William Lane Craig's talk at him before William Lane Craig had a chance to do so, when Craig came to his opening arguments, he just said what Sean Carroll had already said he was going to say. So, I mean, I actually don't rate William Lane Craig at all. I mean, I wouldn't want to debate him personally, because I think because he still has other tactics that he uses, like Gish Gallop, straw manning, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. It's sort of classic debating tactics.
Dishonest debating tactics.
Don't do it, Rich, because it'll just wind you up.
Well, he wouldn't debate me anyway at the moment because I haven't got my PhD yet, and he doesn't. I mean, but
anyway, the dwindling number of people in this country. Let's just talk about Christians for the minute. Just keep it simple. The dwindling number of people who wander down to their village church on a Sunday morning because it's all nice, and we have tea and jam at the village fete and things like that. They're not interested in cosmological arguments. I can't even say it. I can't spell it, but it's they just want to be part of that community. They're not even sure if they believe in God or not. They just think they do. They can't give you any reasoned arguments about anything. So it's a tiny minority of people that are listening to these arguments, from
and actually there's hardly any Christians except some of the hardcorers that have even heard of people like William Lane Craig, or Lee Strobel, or these other individuals that basically are being dishonest for a living. It's a pity that there isn't something in their holy book about lying to people. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, but Rich, weren't you quoting some statistic or some recent survey where they asked various religious people, I think it was in the States, do you know who William Lane Craig is? And I go, who?
Yeah.
I hadn't got a clue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually trying to find the results of that survey, but as soon as you type William Lane Craig into a search engine, it's almost impossible to find anything else apart from his talks. Yeah. So if we get to find that, I'm sure we can share that with people either on Twitter or on our website.
Yeah, we'll put the any links that we can find underneath the podcast so people can go and see. So I'm going to put the link in for the Sean Carroll and William Lane Craig debate, because I think that's it's an incredibly interesting one to have.
There's a link to Cosmic Skeptic, to Alex O'Connor, who many years ago, when he was quite a young man, who was flown out to San Diego, was it? San Jose, one of those Californian cities, to deliver a refutation of the Kalam Cosmological Argument. So recommend that one.
Yeah, very erudite kid. I mean, absolutely amazing. I've seen quite a few of his videos, and they're really, really good. Really well thought out.
Not so much a kid these days.
No, he's not. He's doing a lot of stuff on the speaking circuit, but he's really interesting to listen to. Very, very interesting to listen to.
I think he must be in his final year at Oxford now.
Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. Listen, guys, I think we've sort of hit the end of our time here. Very interesting conversation. We're going to do some more on these sort of arguments, because I think they need to be sort of dug into a little bit. And if people don't know about them, I know they're sort of these. I think they're more interested interesting in the philosophical arena of debate rather than just the religious arena. As you say, most religious people would never have heard of William Lane Craig, which is sort of indictment in itself. But I think it's just an interesting thing to go into. So we're going to do a few more of these. If you've enjoyed this, then just obviously subscribe to the channel. We need subscriptions. We've only just started.
Like, share, subscribe. Yeah. Like, share, subscribe.
We'll have to actually polish our act up when we do this. Subscribe now, ching ching ching, all that sort of thing. Anyway,
why we don't? The rest of what we do isn't polished.
Are you saying we wing it?
Oh no. We have genuine conversations, and actually, I think this is the first one we haven't gone off on major tangent. Well, we did go off on a bit.
We went off on a wee tangent, but we're allowed to do that. It's our podcast. We're allowed.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, we're calling it to a close now, and thanks for watching. If you like it, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. See you later.
Bye.
Well, thanks for joining us today, and don't forget to click that like button. Also, make a comment, and of course, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time.